Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gohndim and Gilmore Show. Today's episode is brought to you by the Boston News Network, the only new age digital newspaper that brings you only the facts. Starting off today, we have the epic showdown on Sunday Night Football between Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Gilmore, did you catch the game?
So I watched very little of it. I don't exactly remember what I was doing at the time, but I probably saw maybe a quarter and a half at most.
I think I spent the majority of the preceding week watching TikToks of the good old glory days of Aaron Rodgers. Kind of an emotional game. You know, you grew up watching Aaron Rodgers, lead the pack to a Super Bowl. Was it 3 MVP seasons, 2 back-to-back towards the end of his career there? A lot of good moments. I was too young to really fully appreciate Brett Favre, and so Rodgers kind of was my quarterback growing up. And so it was just a fun game. Only one I really had circled on the calendar this year for, key opponents to play. Packers end up winning 35-25, and this is potentially the last time we see Rodgers playing against the Pack unless they both end up in the Super Bowl.
So I guess we should, tell the audience that you're a huge Packers fan. What would Jordan Love have to do for you to love him more than Aaron Rodgers?
I think win more than one Super Bowl. I mean, you look back at the tenure of Rodgers in Green Bay, and I think it was a lot of missed opportunities. The season following their Super Bowl win, they went, I think it was 15-1 during the regular season, had one of the best offenses of all time, and completely crashed out in the playoffs. And so, and they had a lot of crash outs, I guess you would say, particularly in the NFC Championship game against your 49ers, unfortunately. I remember one game where Colin Kaepernick ran for probably 160 yards against the Packers. That's what it felt like, at least, on the ground. So it was a brutal stretch there for a team that should have probably won at least 2 or 3 Super Bowls. So if Love gets us at least 2, he would eclipse him in my heart at least a little bit.
All right, so I just pulled up his game log because you're jogging some memories for me. So in 2013, you guys played us with Aaron Rodgers, and you lost by 14. This is all in the playoffs. The next year, in 2014, we played you again. You guys again lost by a field goal. Then it was in 2020, so it was a 6-year gap. 2020, we played you again. We beat you by 17 this time, and then we played you one last time in his last playoff game in 2022, and you again lost by 3. So he's a solid 0-4 against the Niners in his playoff career.
And just to clarify for the audience, Gilmore, when you say we, how did you become a 49ers bandwagon fan? In your own words.
Well, when I say we, people don't know that I used to play cornerback for the San Francisco 49ers. I was there for 14 years, just overlapping the time that Aaron Rodgers was quarterback for the Packers. So it just worked out that way.
Aren't you 49 years old?
Well, I don't like to dox myself like that, but we'll keep that between us.
I thought one thing that was kind of cool is that Mike McCarthy, the former Packers coach, the former Cowboys coach, is also in attendance. I always forget that he grew up in the Pittsburgh area, so it was fun to see him in the box with his old fat man little hat on. Other notable things: Love ties a franchise record for the Packers with 20 straight completions. He had a heck of a night. Rodgers, not so much.
It's tough for Rodgers because I think the talent around him isn't great. They traded away their only good receiver in George Pickens, so he's really thrown to nobodies out there. The one thing I did see that was pretty funny was him getting chased down by Micah Parsons, and he didn't look around, but he kind of just heard him running behind him, and he turned around as soon as he got up, and the next play just started laughing with Micah. So that was a cute little scene there.
Yeah, Micah just had to be on the field. It was something where Rodgers was just aware of his presence the entire game. So it was fun to watch. It was good night to be a Packers fan. Moving on to somewhere else in the NFL, the Carson Wentz QB controversy, where Wentz stays in a game under clear pain. A lot of people blame head coach of the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, the QB whisperer. Do you think that Kevin kept him in there to preserve their QB depth in this season, Gilmore?
I think it's possible. I think Carson Wentz is old enough, has been in the league for long enough that if he needed to be pulled out, he could have done that. It was strange how much the commentators were kind of crapping on Carson for crying on the bench and not looking well. It was pretty clear early on that he was not in good shape to play that game. So it was very bizarre that they would really have that much, lack of empathy for his pain.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Wentz fan, and I tend to hate the Eagles and their fans. But one of the decent Eagles fans in our community, Nate Swade, I think he even felt a little bad for Carson Wentz. what I thought was interesting about this is Wentz just came out a couple days ago and said that, he was very professional and said he knew what he was doing. He kind of knew the state of his shoulder injury. He's now on season. He's going to have season ending surgery and will be placed on IR. But he came out and just said, it was no pressure from the head coach. He put himself back in there. I'm not sure if I exactly believe him, but maybe he got a little money on the side to say that.
Do you think KOC just gave him half a salary for the year to just stay in that one game?
I'm not sure how much KOC's paid, but it's probably too much. I mean, they call this guy the quarterback whisperer, and I don't think he's ever really nurtured or raised a young quarterback. It's always been veterans that have been, under his command that have succeeded and excelled. JJ McCarthy, I think, outside of his one fourth quarter comeback, has like a passer rating of like 38 or something. The other 7 quarters that he's played, so I think KOC might be very overrated, and all the hate towards him is probably deserved, but maybe for different reasons.
I think when it comes down to it, the funny thing is that if he is the QB whisperer, he just brings in these somewhat older quarterbacks. They come there for a season, do a lot better, and then go off and get a massive contract. And they barely do anything good for the Vikings, because even last year, would they lose their first game in the playoffs? So even his ability hasn't really helped the Vikings much at all.
And as a Packers fan, we love to see them struggle in the playoffs. Last note here, I did see a breaking news story this week, or maybe it leaked earlier, honestly, but what I found is the Vikings actually offered Dan Jones, who's now succeeding with the Colts, more money than the Colts gave them, more guaranteed money. And, Dan Jones is obviously thriving there. The Colts are having a great season, and he's probably going to get a big bag after the season as well.
I'm sure that feels good to see if you're JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, that must be a confidence booster right there. All right, moving on. Talking about the CS2 market update, about a week ago, Valve made a change where you could trade up to gold items, and it kind of crashed the market. We talked about it in our previous podcast. The market had an all-time high previously, I think, of 6.2 billion, and it dropped down to about 3 billion. People are calling Volvo Halfo, having the market. Gilmore, did you buy any cool skins, knives, gloves in this recent update? Did you bling out your portfolio?
So I had the thought to, because I figured that, I don't know why, based upon absolutely nothing, that after a week when the kind of hold stopped on the items, that the prices would go up. So I debated it. And then probably about 15 minutes after I thought about that, I forgot about it and didn't buy anything. So nothing on my end. How about you?
So just to be clear, your entire inventory was gifted by me, and you have really put nothing of your own money into this game.
Well, I bought one M4A1, and that's about it.
Amazing. And you are really not beating the allegations, but I won't say more. How about me? I'm doing all right. I had a couple of friends that were freaking out. I bought a few knives off of an IRL friend for a bank transfer, and that like almost doubled again. So made some good money off of people panic selling. I did buy a new knife on my T side, so kind of cool, I guess.
All right, we're happy for you.
All right, and no one that we know killed themselves, so this is a big W. Last topic on our small talk section. Tonight is Halloween. Can be a controversial holiday. Do you have any strong feelings about dressing up as a slutty pumpkin or such?
So no reservations doing that. The two things I did want to bring up, just a couple questions for you, is the first is, what was your favorite costume that you've ever worn?
God. I don't know. I always hated dressing up. As a kid, I have a couple outfits that I'm sure my mom forced me to do. One year when I was really, really young, I think preschool, I was a Dalmatian, and I had like a big giant black spot around in my eyes. Like maybe I was an abused Dalmatian or something. I remember going as a cowboy at one point. I'm trying to think of my other children's costumes, but really for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, I usually go like as a really lazy, cheap lumberjack, which is, common northern Minnesota attire, plaid and suspenders and maybe a fake or real axe, depending on my mood. I went as Bob Ross a few years ago, and I did that in college as well. I'm trying to think what else I've done. I'm usually a pretty lazy dresser-upper, and I tend to not like Halloween at all, so...
Okay, those are cute ones.
However, I must say the greatest part about Halloween, and this is a controversial take, and anyone that disagrees with me is just wrong and stupid, is that candy corn is fucking goated.
So to pull back the curtain a little bit, I said that we would have a fight on this podcast, and I didn't tell you what the topic would be on. And so
Oh
the next
God.
bullet point I had was that candy corn is god awful.
I mean, this isn't really even an argument. I mean, I agree it's pure sugar and it may not be for all people, but neither is being like 164 IQ. So I've lived for a long time with the burden of knowing that I'm like in, the very rare 0.3% or something. I mean, you get a handful of candy corn and a cup of coffee and you're good for like the next hour. Like it's fantastic. I think actually when I first started running, like the big year that I started training for the first time, I probably 10% of my calories came from candy corn.
So do you think the actual food tastes good though?
I mean, I think it's generous to call candy corn food, but yeah, I think it tastes good. Yeah, I mean, it's just fucking sugar. How does it taste bad? I don't get when people are like candy corn's awful. It's like it's fucking sugar.
Yeah, but there's like tons of candy that it's just full of sugar that actually tastes good. That, like even dark chocolate, which doesn't have that much sugar in it, tastes good. But candy corn genuinely tastes terrible. Like I don't understand how someone could like it.
Well, wait, do you like nerds?
Not really. No,
Do you like Fun Dip?
I hate Fun Dip.
Okay, those are both awful too. So I'm just trying to see where we like would disagree. What's your like goated candy bar?
I like Snickers probably the most.
See, I don't know. This is like so generic. It's like so boomer that it's so 49 years old of you. Snickers are like, I don't know, they're fine, but I don't know. I mean, a bag of candy corn will take over Snickers any day. I don't know. Kind of sad.
Like I imagine the people who are addicted to drugs, like if someone's addicted to crack, I can't imagine like the actual, I don't know if you call it a taste or the actual feeling of the crack probably isn't good, but the feeling after from the high of the crack is the part that feels good. And that's kind of how I feel about candy corn, that the actual taste of it is horrible, but it's a good buzz from the sugar. So I don't get how you can actually like the candy corn.
It just tastes good. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what the fuck to say.
Well, here's another question, kind of on the same frame as that. Do you like the
Mhm.
taste of coffee?
Um, yeah, I do, but I think this is more in line with your most recent questioning, is that I'm probably just so used to associating the taste of it with like I'm gonna get this good feeling or something. I mean, because I drink my coffee black and I drink like cheap ass coffee. Like I'll buy whatever's on sale. So I'll have like Folgers fucking breakfast blend and it'll be, I'll brew it with like a double strong scoop and it will be no sugar, no cream. I don't like anything fancy. I go to a coffee shop, I only get, black coffee. Nothing added. So, but I do like the taste. I do think it was an acquired taste. But I do like it.
So I'm the same way with that. I only drink black coffee. Sometimes I've tried some flavors from like Dunkin', but I don't really care for it. It tastes too artificial for me. So I don't know if it's the same for me though. If it's I like the taste of coffee or I like the feeling after drinking the coffee. So I feel like coffee and candy corn are kind of that same frame for me. But I like the taste of coffee more than I like the taste of candy corn for sure.
Bro, you have to eat them together. That's the issue.
All right, I'll try that out. I'll put some candy corn, dissolve it in my coffee, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. I meant more like put the candy corn in your mouth, dumbass, but whatever.
Sure.
I was just gonna say Halloween is a shit tier holiday. Anyone that celebrates it as an adult is probably a little mentally ill, unless you're going to like a party with a lot of like hot, slutty women. That's really all I have to say on that topic.
So I love Halloween, so it's one of my favorite holidays in general. Although I don't really
There's
celebrate it.
there's no way. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, what's the last time you dressed up?
The last time I actually dressed up, there was like a parade nearby the town, so you had to like wear a costume to walk down the street. It was like a parade that, the Thanksgiving Day parade, but it was just a bunch of people dressed up walking down the street. So I dressed up for that one probably like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. So that's the last time.
And you dressed up as?
I dressed up I dressed up as you ever seen the movie Drive?
No.
Ryan Gosling in Drive. I dressed up as his character.
Wow, a fat Ryan Gosling. Interesting. Anyway,
How dare you?
given your wife's affinity for Harry Potter, has she ever forced you into like a Harry Potter themed dress up?
So I haven't, but she has dressed up as a Harry Potter.
Oh,
I
just
wouldn't
to
know if
be,
you call it character, but yeah.
but just to be clear, I was talking like for like a Halloween type event, not like in the bedroom.
Oh yeah, I'm saying both. I'm
Oh,
answering
okay.
both those questions at once. Yeah. So I
Well,
haven't had the pleasure of doing that yet.
oh, the pleasure. I see what you're doing there. Anyway, circling back to slutty women, we're moving on to the Pixie Destiny transcript was released, I think this last week, at some point. Destiny read some of it on stream while he was traveling. I think he was doing some sex tourism or something, or maybe something for the Unfuck America tour. I'm not really sure. Gilmore, you told me before the show that you're an expert on this. I think you've been spending a lot of time in the E-rape dungeon. What's the TLDR? What's the long version? Just hit me with it.
Yeah, so this transcript's been in the works for a while now. I think the hearing happened probably close to 3 or 4 months ago, and it was on temporary seal upon the judge making a determination whether or not it should be open to the public, because Pxie filed a motion saying that it shouldn't because it was embarrassing and so on and so forth, which I don't disagree with her about. Um, so it finally did come out the other day about 30 minutes after the judge said it was allowed to be released to the public. It wasn't too exciting. There were a few snippets in there which were kind of funny, where Pxie was trying to describe things in the most nonsensical way possible. Did you see the water statement that she made?
Like I saw the water, but sometimes like it takes a bit to well understand what she is like trying to say.
So what I gathered from it is that she saw someone who liked a thing, and she knew the person liked the thing, and she brought up the fact first because she knew that person liked the thing. So it wasn't really her suggesting the thing; it was them liking the thing and her suggesting it to them because she knew that he liked the thing. Do you get it?
That's not hearsay.
Okay, so I'm glad we're on the same page there.
I guess my question for you is if you were like a young, the funny thing part to me that I read part of the transcript where like she didn't know like fucking what year she met Destiny at first or like what how old she was or anything. If you were like an unknown 18 or 19-year-old girl, are you going to become sexually active with Destiny?
If I was a girl between the ages of 1 to 75, I would say probably no.
Why did you include 1 to 18?
Just to cover all my bases, you never know these days.
With Destiny or with the oh, never mind. I don't know. Like I thought this entire case from the beginning was pretty stupid. Not to be the typical victim blamer, but I think some of these like dumb women should probably know better.
So let's be serious for a second here. So this entire case comes down to whether someone had the authority or consent to send a video that two people, consulting adults, filmed with each other to another person. In your lifetime, have you ever had a friend or someone else show you a video or picture of a significant other of theirs?
Yes, but I wouldn't say that was a very significant other. It was I don't know. I've always found it to be incredibly gross. I remember one distinct moment. It was like a bunch of us hanging out at one of my good friend's house. We were downstairs playing like ping pong and stuff. And this guy who's like a friend of our friends, I guess, he was kind of in the outer circle, comes over and says, "Hey, you have to check out this nude picture," and like just throws it in our face. And this was like back in the day when you had like a pretty shitty phone too. But it's like I don't understand why you would even want to like look at that or share that on either end. Like it seems so deeply gross to me. So yeah, I've had people be in that culture, and I think it even happens more now with like almost a TikTok with like Snapchat and shit. You hear all those stories about school resource officers, and I think an overwhelming majority of their calls for a couple of years there were like responding to spreading around of these pictures that girls were thinking they were sending to one guy, and then they screenshot it and send it to like the entire school. So yeah, I think all that shit is gross. I have seen it before. I don't understand the appeal to it. I don't. If I was a girl, or well, I guess even as myself, I would just never send nude pictures to anyone. I don't understand what the what
Appeal.
what the appeal is. I don't understand.
So for the record, totally agree with you there. And even more than that, so I would understand if you're in a long time relationship with someone, sending them pictures back and forth. Obviously, you need some trust there. But the thing I don't understand is in this situation, both of them, he was married, I believe, or at least had a fiance at the time, and she had a boyfriend. So they voluntarily filmed a video together to show their significant others. That like boggles my mind how that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's like, I don't even know how to comment on that. I just think both of these people are retarded, and I don't really feel bad that either of them are in this court case. It'd be really funny if it goes on forever. It seems like Pixie's cooked. She was cooked from the start. Everyone go check out, go to bostonnewsnetwork.com and just search for Pixie. We published an article many years ago about how like her most used word is like. And if you read the transcript, you'll see that she is just absolutely like 60 or 70 IQ. I think the real question honestly is, and I kind of meme about this, but she actually might be too stupid and too young and too dumb to consent. I think at one point, well, I won't go there, but I'll just say that she might be the poster child for raising the age of consent. It actually might be true.
What age do you think she'd have to be before consenting? 25?
Pixie would probably have to be like 28 or 29 and maybe have like a parental chaperone. Like they used to do those things where they like would sew you into those body bags or whatever, and you spend your first night to each other where you can't touch each other. Um, I think I saw that in the fucking
Wait, what?
Patriot or something.
Can you explain that?
I think there's that scene in the Patriot, the Mel Gibson movie, one of my favorite Jewish allies, um, where they sew the guy in like a body bag so that you can't go and touch the woman.
Wait, are you
I
thinking
feel like
of Star Wars when they cut open the beast thing and sleep in it overnight? Is that what you're thinking of?
no, that was two men, dumbass. Uh, the tauntaun. I mean, that would actually probably more be more appealing to me. I'd probably sleep inside a smelly tauntaun than get a blowy from Pixie. So
All right. Well, I'm glad we clarified that for the record.
that was the question you're asking, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
What do you want to touch on the rest of the Pixie Destiny transcript? I read like probably 10 pages.
Yeah, I mean, nothing was too. It's tough because there's so many people commenting on it, and he's been commenting on it, and other internet e celebs have been commenting on it. So a lot of it's been out there already before the transcript came out. We had some inside information from our good friend Zippy tell us about what was going on during the hearing, but really nothing too crazy. I honestly don't think it looks, outside of her kind of sounding stupid at times during her testimony, it wasn't really that bad for her. And I actually think there were some parts that are bad for him that no one's really harping on. So we'll see what happens in the coming months.
Which parts are bad for him? I mean, just, put your finger in the wind and let us know.
Probably the part where he was asked if he had explicit consent to share the photo, and he said no. Probably that part.
Hmm. Do you always get explicit consent?
I think it's helpful, and I think the law is written in a way that it may require explicit consent. I think it's possible to have implicit consent, and I think for at least for moral reasons you can, but the law is written in a pretty shitty way. There's actually this one pretty big loophole in the law, which hasn't really come out in the litigation at all, where there's an exception for commercial pornography. Obviously, you could share commercial porn because that's the whole point of it is that you're sharing it, but it doesn't really define what commercial pornography is. So you can just claim any video that you take as commercial, and then you're excluded from the law. So I wonder if he'll try to do that in future filings.
So you're giving me advice as a lawyer that I could take pictures of women and share them without their consent as long as I sold them.
You could take it to the bank.
Okay. Appreciate that. Speaking about the bank, the Schumer shutdown. Gilmore, you are the resident Democrat on this podcast. Who is to blame for this? I think, is it almost approaching a record length shutdown? And why is it Democrats?
So to again clarify the record, because I know Gohndim likes to put a lot of tomfoolery out there. I'm a diehard socialist, so obviously I do not support the Schumer shutdown because I don't support any shutdown. I think a lot of our hardworking brethren and non-working brethren are entitled to their SNAP benefits, and I hope this ends soon. Especially because it looks like if it isn't restored soon, SNAP's going to run out in like 15 days, and the health insurance subsidies are gone. People's premiums are going to go up by 200%. So it should be pretty interesting.
I don't even understand. Like, even if I was a Democrat, which I am not, why would I be concerned about letting the SNAP benefits just continue to expire and people not collect their food benefits? I think a judge just ruled in the last day or two that they have to continue, and so maybe that's going to move on to some other court or district, whatever. Who cares? But I think 40% of the SNAP recipients are like in the South, if not the deep South. If I was a Democrat, why would I just say fuck these people, let them starve? The approach that I have is that we need to gut entitlements anyway, so I really don't care.
So I think it's actually pretty funny. I don't know if this had to do with the shutdown. I'm assuming it does, but in typical Gilmore fashion, I just read the headline and I'm making huge assumptions here. So there was a case before some judge, and they could have ruled that the subsidies or certain benefits, I forgot what it was, could only be restored for blue states and not red states. And for some reason, the judge restored it for all the states. I thought it'd be pretty funny if they only restored it for blue states and see how the red states kind of freak out. But unfortunately, we didn't get our wish there.
But I mean, just to go back to my question, like, why are you showing all this compassion and concern for like these absolute low IQ MAGA Republicans who are going to be, suffering from, not getting their benefits if they continue to be delayed or not funded, I guess.
I think the issue with not giving them their benefits is that if all the MAGA poor Republicans died off, we would have so much less content for our show. Who would give the cope of the week to, right?
It might be you for supporting the entitlement state or the welfare state. I mean, just to put things in perspective, our national debt is $38 trillion. That's about $100,000 per citizen, or a little bit more than that. Social Security is 21% of the budget, and interest on the debt is 13% of the budget. I think when I did a couple searches and asked AI to summarize, pulling a Rob Noor or Destiny here, there are 70, at least 70 different means tested programs for providing cash, food, housing, medical care, and social services. I mean, when is enough enough? I get it that we don't want these people to be like starving and drug addled on the streets, and they become everyone's problem if they can't get some of these resources. But whatever happened to the concept of like a very minimal safety net? People should rely first on their local governments, their local charities, their churches, their families and friends. There should be more personal responsibility in this country. I mean, fuck, you can't even people can now just gorge themselves for 30 years with excess food and take Ozempic. Like, we've designed our entire society about minimizing people's personal responsibility and blaming it on external factors, some that don't even exist, like food deserts, like the mythical problem of food deserts. So I guess just defend the welfare state for a second.
So I think that it should be mandatory for every person over a certain weight to have to take Ozempic. I think that should be part of the welfare state. I think that certain foods that I agree with shouldn't be eligible for SNAP benefits, like meat or other animal products. Every person on SNAP should have to be vegan. So then we kind of get rid of the factory farming that exists in this country. So I think those are the changes I'd probably make.
Moving on to the illegal immigrant aspect of this, approximately 4.8% of total SNAP funding goes to illegal immigrants. The Center for Immigration Studies showed that of households headed by illegal immigrants, 59% use one or more welfare programs. Why should I, an American citizen, care about these illegals running out of benefits? And why are they even on the programs to begin with?
So is it the case, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if Grok would have said this or not. Isn't it the case that the benefits go to the children who are actually the American citizens?
Well, that is true in a lot of cases. It is because the U.S. born children, but doesn't that emphasize the importance of deporting these people or aborting the children before they can be born in America? I think this. Why are we allowing these people, now that we have such a forceful removal of the people that are illegal in this country? Why are we allowing them to bear all these children and eat up the resources, the dwindling resources, mind you? Like I put it up before, 13% of our federal budget per year goes to interest on the debt. Interest. And yet we are concerned about like illegals bearing children here and making them citizens. Like, it makes absolutely no sense.
So just to be clear, you're saying it should be mandatory abortions?
I think if you're an illegal citizen and you have a child here, birthright citizenship should be off the table. 100%, yeah.
Wait, so who would be able to be a birthright citizen in that case?
If at least one of the parents has been a U.S. citizen for more than 5 years.
Would they just be a citizen anyway, though?
What do you mean?
Like, if you're the child of a U.S. citizen, aren't you just a U.S. citizen?
Not under my new system. What did I just tell you? You have to be a citizen for 5 years.
Okay, so if one parent is a citizen in the U.S. for 5 years, then they have a child in the U.S., I'm assuming?
Yeah, and they're married. They've been married for at least 5 years as well.
Okay. So they're married for 5 years to either a citizen or a non-citizen. Then they can have a kid who's a citizen. Does the spouse also become a citizen, or do they have to wait longer too?
No, the spouse could still be deported. I think that's the risk that you take in this country. You have to go through the normal means and methods. This is what I was talking about, the personal responsibility. Like you just want to shortcut and say like, okay, they're gonna have a kid and now we should like make them a US citizen. Like it's actual like it's so stupid when we can barely afford to pay our own bills. I mean, if you look at your tax bill recently, the foundation of this country was on the spirit of personal responsibility, individual liberty, not infringing on other people's rights. This was an observation of Benjamin Franklin and when he was traveling in Europe, and this is a quote from him: "Quote: In different countries, the more public provisions were made for the poor, the less they provided for themselves and became poorer." End quote. Isn't this just obviously the case?
Do you know what country he was in?
Well, he spent a lot of time in France, in England, but he traveled to various countries.
So I get that in France. I mean, it's pretty clear he didn't go to Germany because that would never take place there.
I think Germany has a pretty healthy welfare state right now. So,
Yeah, but they're all hard workers there, though, so they're on the right page.
so you're saying that people that are receiving these benefits are not hard workers? I think that's kind of my point.
No, I agree. I'm saying that he wouldn't have seen that in the first place in Germany because we're all hard workers there.
Hmm. Yeah, they do some good things, right? Okay. Anything else
Recently,
on?
to be clear, recently, I mean in Germany.
Yeah, recent history. I mean, humans have been on the planet for like 200,000 years, so recent history for sure. Um, Anything else on the Schumer shutdown? It seems like you're not really taking responsibilities for the illegals in this country or the outrageous spending that Democrats support.
Well, I think speaking of spending, we should allocate some more resources to our upcoming war in Venezuela.
Yeah, so that's the next topic. Do you think we're going to war with Venezuela? I thought it was really funny. Lindsey Graham gave a comment where he was like, yes, we are going to be discussing strikes inside the country of Venezuela when Trump gets back from his Asia trip. And then Trump said on Air Force One, I think a few hours later, no, we are absolutely not considering strikes inside Venezuela. Are the Palantir Bros, in conjunction with the American military, planning to strike Venezuela?
So it seems bizarre because I don't really see the difference between striking Venezuela on its borders or striking Venezuelan ships who are just random ships out in the ocean. So I don't really understand the difference between those two things. But I don't think we actually do any strikes within Venezuela, but I guess we'll see. You never know with Trump. What do you think?
I mean, I'd be all for it. I think Venezuela is a shithole country. We've taken so many of their refugees, and air quotes refugees. These people are probably not actual refugees by my status. They certainly did not go to the first nearest country. They have these enclaves here now that are like lobbying U.S. politicians. The opposition leader in Venezuela, what's it called? Not endorsed, but attributed her Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump. They have so much oil. I really would not be opposed to like a U.S. Conquest of Venezuela. I mean, this isn't the current modern world that we live in, and maybe that would even set the stage more for China to invade and take over Taiwan and spark a global war. But if there's one country that we are going to invade in the next or this administration, I would be perfectly fine if it ends up being Venezuela.
All right. And that kind of goes on to my next question is if not including Venezuela, what country would you want the USA to invade the most?
Who the most? I wonder if you have a good answer for this. Um, I mean, something that's like resource, like a full invasion and occupation, or I can do it for any purpose.
You can pick the purpose. That's up to you.
I think what I would do is I would invade Australia and take as a political prisoner Drew Pavlo.
I think he would come willingly, to be honest.
Well, he'd go to Montego Bay with all the other terrorists.
Oh, in like a bad way. I think you said that you support him.
I used to support him. He's become a little cringe. I don't know what the real answer would be. I mean, I think like some of these countries are such shithole countries, like Venezuela, and the entire continent of Africa is basically a shithole. Why don't the powers just get together and carve these places up again? Like it's absolutely ridiculous. And I understand that we have like historic or companies that are still set up over there that are extracting resources, and that's great because we can use them better than they can. But I really don't have any issues with us extracting resources for our own good. Venezuela's got so much oil. They have like, is it the second or third most oil reserves? And understood that it's extra heavy crude, and so it takes more to refine and extract, and you got to mix it with lighter crudes, whatever. but fuck them. I really don't care. So Venezuela number one. Number two, probably why not just go and eliminate a bunch of cartels in Mexico? That seems like a good idea. Such a corrupt shithole country as well. I think I've previously said that we should like invade all the way down to like just north of like Mexico City. Like Mexico City seems like a pretty big of a shithole. Too hot. I don't know. No water. I guess I'd go with Venezuela and then Mexico and Panama if they want to keep playing cute with the canal.
So I think I would go with Madagascar because they have like really cute animals there, and the movie looked pretty cool there. So I'd probably go with Madagascar.
Wasn't that a fucking animated film?
Yeah, but like the animals look really cool and they seem kind, and the lemur's pretty cool. So yeah, that's my choice.
Never saw it. Moving on, I think you have a hot take for me today, Gilmore, instead of Cope of the Week.
Yeah, we replaced the Cope of the Week this week with my hot take. So here is it's really twofold. If I was, the Grand Master of the United States, I almost said Grand Wizard, unfortunately, but if I was the Grand Master of the United States, these are the two changes I would make to make society better and to make social media better. So my first would be that you're not allowed to be anonymous on the internet, on social media. And the second is that your employer can't fire you, legally can't fire you for any protected speech you make outside of the workplace.
So just to be clear, you want to reserve the right for you to go on like a podcast like this and like espouse the most filthy, disgusting ideology. Like you could come out as a Nazi right now, and you don't want your employer to be able to fire you.
I'll go even further than you. You could go on this exact podcast and say you like the taste of candy corn, and I think you shouldn't be fired for that.
But you really think that your employer should not be allowed to fire someone for espousing like actually disgusting beliefs, even if they're protected?
Yes, exactly.
So, put in other words, you more or less want to be forced to have to work with some of these people potentially.
Yeah, that's pretty
I've
much it.
never I've never understood why they say in all these like HR seminars and shit, and they lecture you before you do interviews, and sometimes screen the questions with the candidates for you. It's like, well, you can't ask this, that, or the other. Well, you have to fucking work with these people. I already don't want to work with people, but now you want to force me to work with people who, particularly given our political climate online, say some of the most disgusting, horrific things. Like these people are, a lot of them are like mentally unstable. So like after someone exposes himself as being severely mentally ill, like some of the Destiny posting that he's done recently, you want to just be forced to work with these people. Just to be clear for the third time.
So I think the rationale behind it is that people truly believe certain things and they feel fearful to actually express them solely out of the fact that they think they're going to get fired from their jobs or face some other, consequence for their speech. So I think by having this barrier in place, the issue the way it is now is that as long as you have enough people complaining, even if the speech isn't bad, even if the thought isn't a bad thought that they express, as long as you get enough people angry or to dislike what you're saying, they can just keep calling your job and get you fired. So I would like this added protection for employers to feel safe keeping these people on board. Because I don't really give a shit if you work at McDonald's and you don't like Jewish people. I mean, like you're just like making fries, you're ringing up people at the register, whatever. I don't really care.
Maybe
Uh,
spitting in food on occasion.
yeah, but only if you wear a kippah or something. If you don't visibly Jewish, maybe it wouldn't be a big deal. So I think it's so stupid. And the way it works, it's like a game of musical chairs. Because it's not the fact that you just lose your job forever, because obviously someone's going to hire you eventually. You just get a different job, probably making slightly less money in 2 months from then. So it just hurts your current employer because they have to hire a new person. It hurts your potentially future employer because they have to deal with the BS of people calling that job potentially. And it hurts the person who has to just be out of work for some short period of time before finding another job. So it just, I think it's just purely a ridiculous way of doing things. And by making it illegal, it would just make everyone's lives easier.
No, it would not. I mean, there's so many issues with this. Why wouldn't you just keep the ability to remain anonymous viable? Because you're gonna have these people that are now like, okay, my name is Matthias Anderson. I live in 1717 Hibbing Street, Hibbing, Minnesota, and now I'm gonna say something disgusting on the internet. And when I say I mean this theoretical person. And then 10,000 people are going to call that employer and they can't do anything about it. Like this is going to make everyone's lives worse, I think. Why not just
Yeah,
let
but
people
people
remain
won't call
anonymous?
the employer though. If you know they're not able to fire the person, it would just be a waste of time and money to do that. That's the whole point.
No, they're still going to do it. People are insane. What do you mean?
Like if like right now, because of the First Amendment, you can't throw someone in jail for just saying, they like Joe Biden or they like Donald Trump. Yet. We'll see what happens. But if it wasn't illegal, you'd have people calling up police precincts all over the place saying, hey, arrest my neighbor because he's a Trump sign on his front lawn. So the fact that it is illegal and they can't do that is why people don't call their local police stations all the time and ask them to be arrested. If it wasn't the case that you could be fired for it, people wouldn't take the time out of their day to call the boss for no reason at all.
Doesn't this happen all the time where people call the police for things that are not actually illegal? Like I don't understand what you're saying here.
But it's far less like if I thought my neighbor could get thrown in jail for having like an AOC sign on their front lawn, I'd be more apt to call the police to have them arrested, right? If I knew it would be impossible, I wouldn't do it.
Maybe you're more well adjusted. I don't understand like why not just let people remain anonymous? And I'm just curious, taking a little history tour again. What name were the Federalist Papers published under? Do you remember?
Pen names.
Well, it was just a collective pseudonym, Publius. Um, isn't there value in having some level of being able to remain anonymous and make political commentary?
So I think it was way different back then because now you could just like fart out a tweet and at any point in time. Back then you actually had to have the resources to write something out, put it on nice paper, have nice parchment, mail it out to people, post it on, your local church. It's way too easy these days to do things anonymously. You normally have to like be in the street corner talking in front of other people. I think the entire reason why discourse has gotten so much worse is one because of people being anonymous and getting to harass people for no repercussions whatsoever for doing so, and because of the threat of losing your job for what you say. I think that's why discourse has gotten so bad. The only people who are able to make their true political statements publicly are people who are A, anonymous, or B, had no threat of losing their job, which means they're a crazy person to begin with.
Aren't those like incongruent statements? So like you think that the reason discourse is so toxic is that people can remain anonymous, but you want to make them not be anonymous, but then they also cannot have repercussions for their speech. They can stay in their job forever. So people are going to harass people more. And I guess my follow-up point to that as well, isn't a lot of the actual like I won't say hate speech, but the vile speech espoused on like Twitter in particular by people that are like actual politicians and are like, on their public facing profiles. It doesn't seem like, I mean, coming from JD Vance, Donald Trump, it does not really seem to me like being anonymous is like a necessary requirement for, being an evil, disgusting person.
Well, I think it comes down to people that profit off of this speech are the only people who are able to make this speech, and people who want to combat that speech, A, will either lose their jobs, like the people with the Charlie Kirk stuff, or B, are just going to get harassed by anonymous people if they speak out. So I think that's the issue.
So you're more worried about the reverse harassment from anonymous people, harassing people that are saying really vile things anonymously. That's your concern.
Or not vile things. Yeah, exactly. Like the guy was arrested in whatever the hell state that was for putting up a meme of words that Donald Trump actually said about some other shooting, and he went to prison for a month for it. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but nothing that you're proposing to change fixes that situation.
Well, I mean, he's going to win a lawsuit against them because it's illegal to arrest someone.
Yeah, but that doesn't change my previous statement, though. Nothing that you just said there solves that situation.
But I think if the fact was that
it would be easier to find him because he wouldn't be anonymous.
Yeah, but if he did it anonymously, they'd somehow also find him by like his IP address or some dumb shit.
Bro, in your world, they're arresting like 30 of those people a day because everyone's got their public facing profile like on Twitter.
And they'll get like $100,000 from their lawsuits, so their lives will be better.
Infinite money glitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think like all that content, like, are you in favor of age verification or like ID verification for consuming pornography or producing pornography?
Yeah, I'm okay with having some way to say that you're over 18 years old, but I think the rules are purposely ridiculous to make it so people just won't access those websites, which is the bad thing.
No, So if a law like that was in place, how many times per month would you have to ID verify?
If what law was in place?
That you had to prove your age or verify your ID to consume and access pornography.
Well, I think you would just connect it to like a username or something and do it that way, is my guess. I don't know how they normally do
Yeah, I'm just asking you. I mean, think about the burden on your life. How across how many sites and how many times per month is that going to impact you personally?
it. So your question, probably never, because I'm a pure person.
Probably never. Well, moving on. If there's anything else on this hot take,
I think that's it for now, but we'll discuss it again another time.
okay. Well, moving on to pure thoughts and pure people. We have a question from Mirror 1414. We're in our mailbag segment now, and Mirror, I understood completely that you asked this in the wrong channel. You accidentally posted this in philosophy, but we took this as a good question. Mirror says, "Quote." Is it immoral to have full size and mini candy bars and distribute them based on perceived level of effort in a child's? I said home here, but I think it meant costume. I don't know why I typed home. Gilmore, would you discriminate against children based on like their costume design?
So I think what I would do, so I think it's not immoral, first of all, Mirror. Good question, though. What I would do is give the large candy bars to the kids that look like they put the most effort into their costumes and give the small candy bars to the kids who have like the most expensive looking costumes, is what I would do.
So you'd favor like the homemade over the store bought, expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like redistributing wealth. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm Bernie Sanders when it comes to Halloween candy.
And just to be clear, we were recording again on Halloween. Did you actually even hand out candy?
We had two trick-or-treaters this year, so we did hand out pretty large chocolate bars.
Oh my God.
How about you?
Wait, were they family or friends?
No, I don't know who they are.
Oh my God. Just came to your house in the woods. No, I don't hand out candy. I'm not like in a super secluded area, but it's a little bit off the path. It's a little bit more private. And so like the last year I did it was I think 2 or 3 years ago, and I had like 10 trick-or-treaters, so it's just not worth it.
And also you're a Jehovah's Witness, so you don't believe in it too, right?
Yeah, I don't believe in things that, bring you further away from God.
Yeah.
Next question we have from the Merles, and this is like his one topic that he's obsessed about. I think he needs to get a little bit of a new bit, but he says Trump presented a 20-point Gaza peace plan. How many points would be on your plan, and what are they?
So how many points from Trump's plan or
I think just if you were creating your perfect peace in the Middle East plan, what's on it, and how many points and what are they?
okay. So point one is all the Israeli hostages are returned to Israel. Point two is all the uh not crazy Palestinian hostages are sent back to Gaza. Point three is the two countries have to come up with a peace deal within 3 months, or what could happen? They either come up with a peace deal within 3 months, or all of them have to leave Greater Israel, and the United States takes over that land.
I mean, I guess that's not too far away from my ideal peace plan, but I was not a fan of a two-state solution even before October 7th. So my peace plan would be there's going to be no peace in this area until all of your people are the fuck out of whatever you want to call it, Greater Israel. I don't really care at this point. They've had their chance. They've had multiple chances. When we're sitting here in 10 years and we have the third intifada and they're training 14-year-old kids to blow themselves up on buses to kill, otherwise peaceful Jews. I'm really not going to have much compassion for people that are like, let's just give peace another chance. I don't care. I was beyond it before October 7th. And, what they did on that day was disgusting. And I really have no sympathy for these people. Every single death in this war has been the fault of Hamas. End stop.
All right. Glad to have your take on that. I'll ask the next question from Marlowe. Would it be unethical to wear ICE agent costumes and do Three Stooges style slapstick comedy bits and satirize 30 IQ MAGA voters loudly in a bar for a Halloween shtick?
A shtick. I think it's slightly unethical because Marlowe precisely pointed out 30 IQ mega voters. I think that makes you like below, functioning. You're probably like somewhere between a vegetable and hypertroller, and that's not a very good place to be. So probably slightly unethical, maybe a little funny. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'd even fuck around with some of that stuff. Actual ICE agents might like shoot you and arrest you. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was going to say. I think people might mistake you for actual ICE agents and might like run out and cause havoc or some sort of devastating trampling uh, death. So I think probably hold off doing that.
Yeah, imagine you dress as an ICE agent and then you have another, was it the Dallas facility incident where like a concerned citizen starts shooting at ICE agents? Or no, he shot at the actual prisoners. Never mind.
I like how you called them a concerned citizen. That's the
He's
way of
just
describing a mass murderer.
he's just a concerned citizen. Speaking of a concerned citizen, we have a note here from GKR, who is also very concerned about Jewish people. He says, quote, if you could elect one person president right now, who would it be? And then he, added on later, and why is it Bernie Sanders?
So I think it'd be fun to have someone as president who doesn't even want to be president in the first place. So I think the person in the United States who least wants to be president right now is probably Barack Obama. So I'd probably Barack Obama.
Bro, they would actually probably revolt and like hang him in the Capitol. Like this might be the darkest answer you've ever given.
I think he'd also hang himself if he had to become president again. I think he's very much over it.
I think the actual answer, like if you're going to give like a real answer, and I know you're not trying to do that tonight, would have to be a Republican, right? Because you're replacing a Republican. So I think you kind of make a graceful turn back to some form of common sense and rational thinking. So I think you tap someone like Nikki Haley, maybe even Chris Christie, despite the fact that he seems reluctant to take Ozempic. There's a cast of characters that are, not have any power in the Republican Party. Maybe even Marco Rubio if he's not too cooked at this point, but he might be on the cook train.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this next question because I'm going to tell you right now I'm not going to answer it. So this is from Nate Swade. Should you tell larger women they are beautiful even if it's not true? I struggle with this because lying is sinful in my religion. Good
That's
question,
a great question.
Yeah.
Great question, Nate. And Nate and I go way, 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 way back. You'll hear on the special episode with Geek with Glasses TV that Nate Swade and I would sometimes stay up and voice chat in the Boss 8 server. I mean, literally till 3, 4, I think maybe even 5 in the morning one time. One of the highest tier intellectuals that exists in Twitch poll used to stream himself. So should I tell larger women they are beautiful even if it's not true? I think there's a couple different ways to approach this question. I think with the advent of drugs like Ozempic, today's large woman could be a skinny woman and, 6 short months, and it doesn't even require a gym membership anymore. It just requires a little bit of discipline. So I think it depends on if you're, cultivating leads, we shall say. And then it also probably depends, if they're friends of like your existing people, if they're socially connected, are you trying to manipulate them for some purpose? I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to comment and say that a large woman is beautiful just to lie to her. I think that's probably especially sinful. But doing it for like a long-term purpose and thinking long-term, like humans so often do, it can be a very good thing. The sinful part of it or the religion part of it, I'm not as concerned about. What I would say is that if you look at the mainstream religions, take Islam for example. And I think Mary Magdalene is also very skinny. So there are some sins that are worse than others, and one of them is probably gluttony and being really large in the first place.
And we've talked about this off pod before. You have a very strong stance against lying in any situation. Going as far as actually telling me on one occasion that if I was hiding in your attic and the Nazi guards came and they asked if you had any Jews hiding in here, you would point me out immediately. Isn't that right?
Well, I think that was like step 3 or 4. I think it depends on how large the bounty is at that time.
Okay. So you will lie if it's for enough money, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not someone that lies very often, but I will lie if the positives outweigh the negatives.
Okay, no, that's fair.
I guess it's my turn to ask you questions. We're moving on to our final segment here before the outro, our quickfire question segment, where I get to grill Gilmore. I have 12 questions today instead of the usual 10. One I added last minute based on something Gilmore and I were talking about. I don't think he picked up on it though. Gilmore, are you ready to be grilled?
I am ready to get roasted.
And just remember, you threw me kind of a couple nasty questions in that one podcast, one earlier in the show about Ariana. I mean, that was the segment asking questions what I would do for concert tickets, and you asked a couple disgusting questions there, and then also hit me with a little bit of I don't know, a low blow, I guess, in the quickfire question. So just be a little prepared. We'll get started with this one. What is the best gift your wife has ever given you?
That's a good question. The best gift she's ever gotten me. She got me this custom made like rack to hold my PlayStation controllers, which is very cute, with like my initials on it.
I'm sorry, I completely blanked out when she said she got you a custom rack. Moving on, who is your favorite female author?
Emily Saint Mandel, I think her name was, something along those lines.
This is not a good look. At least you struggled almost as bad as
I think it's Emily St. John Mandel, I want to say.
If you could burn one book, what would it be?
Probably a Bible, because it's so big, so it'll like keep me warm for longer.
No. Like you would be burning like almost all these books in existence. Like you're
so it'd be gone completely.
Well, I mean, people might be able to hoard them and save them, but you're like throwing a book burning event. Everyone bring this book.
Probably The Cat in the Hat. I don't really care for it.
Interesting. Where are you most likely to lose your keys?
Probably, I have like a little shelf that I put my keys on, so probably behind there.
Most common or likely drink to find in your fridge?
Including water.
You keep water in your fridge like you're a bottled water cock?
Sometimes, but probably seltzer.
Okay. How many Oreos could you eat in 1 hour?
Like 100, probably.
Fucking 100, okay. Oh, wait, actually 100? Okay, I'm moving on. Latest acceptable time to eat dinner?
8:30 p.m.
Central Time. What movie have you seen the most times?
Happy Gilmore, the first one?
How many times have you seen it?
Oh, I used to watch it all the time as a kid, so probably like 30.
Interesting. If you had to pick one temperature for it to be outside all year round, what would you pick?
68 degrees.
Too hot. How many hours per week do you watch live stream content?
These days, like while it's actually live?
Yeah, while it's actually live.
Oh, these days not much. Probably like an hour or two.
If you woke up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy, what would you do?
I'd probably go out in the city.
Oh my God. And the final question, just because I know that you are such a big WNBA fan, can you name the 5 players who started the most games for the New York Liberty this past season?
Ooh, this last season's tough. We had a lot of injuries. Let me see if I can remember. I think it was Scary Spice, Baby Spice.
Nope.
Spooky Spice.
No. Come on, you have to know some of them. Come on.
David Beckham's wife and Diana Taurasi.
Retired a couple years ago. I think last year actually. Well, pretty sad. It was probably the 5 that you probably knew the most anyway, but it is what it is. Anything else we want to touch on before we end the podcast here?
I think that's all I got. We had just a couple extra mailbag questions, but maybe we'll save them for next week.
We'll save them for next week. All right, that's it for us. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Gohndim and Gilmore podcast. Check the links in the show description to see where you can find us. And join our Discord to interact with us and submit questions for the next show. I think I'm going to try to host a couple of game nights as well in the Discord over the next few weeks, just to drum up some activity, so that should be fun. Join us for those. And as always, your support is much appreciated. Until next time, adios.
Bye-bye.